Can I help you? Take your hand off me. Yeah. Hi, my name is Scott Rogers. I'm an expert in Kyusho-jitsu pressure point fighting. Kyusho-jitsu is using acupuncture points of the body to cause damage or injure as opposed to heal. In this tape, we're going to cover using points that can be activated by pressing, rubbing, or squeezing. In other words, using the fingertips as opposed to striking. The advantage in not striking is you can control the amount of damage you're going to inflict, and you can also control an opponent to set up a more damaging strike to follow. I'm going to bring my assistant Dusan out, and we're going to continue from here. There are over 360 pressure points on the body. All of them respond to striking, but not nearly as many respond to fingertip pressure or squeezing. The majority of the points that respond to squeezing lie along the region of the arms, the face and neck, and the lower portion of the body. What we're going to try to do is we're going to start with the arm points. We're going to work our way up. We're going to show you some on the legs, some on the head and neck. We're going to show you their applications. We're going to show you the effects that they cause. Then we're going to show you how to combine the points together. A very good way of combining points is to go from the arm point to get control immediately to a head or a neck point. The first one we're going to cover is at the lower section of the arm. It's called large intestine 4. It lies between the thumb and the forefinger. We're going to show you on Dusan. Follow the fingers down. Where they come to the meeting point is where the point is. Now, a lot of people will press into it towards the wrist or the arm. This will not have the right effect. What we need to do is press in the direction towards the index finger. So as we squeeze this way and press it against the bone, you can see the pain that it causes and the body reaction that you get. Something else that you may or not have noticed is if he has his hand closed and you squeeze, it forces the hand open. So if he was gripping me, I can squeeze it to make him open. If he was holding a weapon, I can squeeze it to make him drop it. Let's say we have a situation where he's behind me in a bear hug, and I can't get out with striking. Sometimes he's very close. I can't use any strikes. I have no room. I have to resort to squeezing. So what I'm going to do is use my thumb, squeeze into the point. As soon as he lets go, I could bring him around. I could set him up for a more damaging strike, for a wrist lock, which he's in effect for, an arm bar, a kick to the face. Basically, it's your choice, but you've put yourself in a good position. This exact same point can be used in a grappling situation, meaning standing or on the ground. So for example, if we were down in the mount position, all right, Jason, and he was holding onto my arms for control and I couldn't release, all I would have to do is reach and squeeze. Once I had this position from here, I could continue with a grappling move. We could use his fingers for control, or we can twist him in the exact same way that we did while we were standing. All right, so this is large intestine 4, between the thumb and the index finger. The next point on the hand that we're going to cover is triple warmer 3. Triple warmer 3 is opposite large intestine 4. It's between the pinky finger and the other finger, right between the joint. So when he grabs, I want to find the last 2 knuckles. I want to go up about 1 inch, and this is where the point is. The way we press this is you can use your thumb, but it's easier if you take a knuckle and you just squeeze. That forces his hand open, setting up fingers. The reason this point is important is if he was grabbing underneath the arms like before, I have my hands free, I can use my thumbs. If he goes over my arms, I can't use my thumbs, but I can still find the point and access it with the knuckle. So if I have even more restricted motion, one more time, I find the point on either hand and I dig in. Now of course, once I'm here, I need to turn and face him so that he doesn't turn it into a chokehold or a punching situation. What you're going to find is the points on the hand make the hand open. But as we travel up the arm that you'll see later, it will affect the body a little bit more. So when he grabs and I do this, the hand opens and he comes forward a little bit. If we were to do a point further up on the arm, we would be able to make his entire body react. So the points on the lower arm, you get a quicker reaction, but the less body movement. As we move up the arm, the reaction's a little bit slower, but we have more control over his body. So triple warmer 3 between these two fingers can be squeezed with the hand. If you have a good grip, you can use the thumb and squeeze it, but it's best used with a center knuckle. Place the knuckle, dig in, and again, rub. Make him let go. Generally, if he was attacking the lower body, we would attack his lower, meaning here. As he goes higher up, it's a little awkward to get to this position, so we'll attack closer to the elbow. If he was to pull me in closer, I would leave the arms together and I would go towards the head or the neck. So while you can use all the points in all the situations, some points lend themselves more easily to be attacked. The further down he grabs, usually the further down you will attack. The higher up he grabs, usually the higher up you will attack. So triple warmer 3 between these two fingers. Next point we're going to cover is called pericardium 8. Pericardium 8 lies in the center of the wrist, exactly 2 fingers up from the crease of the wrist. So again, we'll use Dusan to show. What you do with your partner when you're learning is you place 2 fingers right on the line. That is the height of the point. Now you find the center, and that's where the thumb is going to press. A couple of things about activating pressure points. When we press, a lot of people have a tendency to use the pad of the thumb. If I use this part of my thumb, my hand is not strong enough to get any effect. We have to treat our fingers like needles and use the point. So as we're here, instead of letting the pad drop, I let the point come in between the tendons, I squeeze, and I get the effect. This particular point requires a little bit more than squeezing. In order to affect it, we need to press in as far as it will go, straight down, and then pull back. So I press in till he feels it, and then I pull the finger back, which brings him towards me. So it's down and back. So let's say he was grabbing and I couldn't get him to let go. I would find the point, I would press my thumb in as far as it would go, he'd feel it a little bit, and when I pull it back, that's when I get the effect. Okay? So one more time. So he grabs, I expose it. If it's all the way down here, I can't find it. I lead with the tip of the thumb, not the pad, so I start with the thumb bent. Another mistake a lot of people make is they use their fingers. So we're just going to turn a little bit. They use their fingers on this side and they try to pinch. The entire hand needs to form a base. This way his hand doesn't move. If I'm pinching this way, this is not a very strong grip. I want a good grip with my thumb coming down. So as he's here, I get a good grip, my thumb goes down, squeeze, pull back towards myself. From this position, we could grab his chin, we could do all kinds of other techniques, but we first have to get control. If he was grabbing us with both hands, we would just have to find one side or the other. It wouldn't really matter. Automatically we're in a position to strike, twist, knee strike, throw him, anything that your particular style is suited for. So this point is pericardium 8. It lies 2 fingers above the crease of the wrist, dead center. The next 2 points we're going to cover work together. That's why we're using them at the same time. They're considered to be 2 of the most important points that you can learn in Kyushu Jitsu, and they're called Heart 5 and Lung 8. They lie on either side of the wrist bone. The reason these points are so important is any situation where you can grab your opponent's arm will be increased, your effectiveness will be increased by having your hands on these points. So if he was to throw a punch and I was managing to get a grip from here, I would be on the points. If he was grabbing me and I was just holding his arm to do something, if I could be on the points, it would be more effective. So close to the wrist, most people won't grab up high. They'll grab down here, they'll grab this way. Just by changing your hand position and finding those points, you'll have a bigger measure of control over your opponent. The points lie exactly here and here, like a wristband going around him, about a ½ an inch above the little bump. So when I grab, what I want to do is on the top one, I'm going to put my index finger, again, using the point, not using the pad. Don't grab like this. The point goes here. For the thumb, I can't get my thumb in there because of the position, so what I do is I use this knuckle, and I squeeze. Now, once I squeeze to get a little bit more effect, I rotate the hand towards me, which brings his hand towards his body and brings his head towards me. Something else that you'll notice is, let's say he's grabbing me. this arm will tend to go back. He hit himself with his hand. This arm will tend to go back, which if he was about to throw a punch would make it very difficult for him to do. It also puts his head in range for me to strike. If he was here, he would see me doing this strike and it would be very slow. When he grabs, I bring him in. Once I'm here, I make a decision. Do I want to injure him by striking him, or do I want to easily bring him down to the ground possibly and just control him? That would depend on the situation, how dangerous it was, or how I felt about it. There were 3 or 4 people around, I would have to hit him. If it was one person, he was just grabbing me, I would just control him. That's a decision that you would have to make. This position can be worked from this position or from this side. So I can use this hand if he grabbed me on this side. If he threw, let's say, a punch, I'd be able to lock his wrist here and control him. And again, setting up a future technique. So the 2 points that we're covering are heart 5, which is the bottom point, and lung 8, which is the top point. Point we're going to cover next is called lung 5. This is one of my favorite points for striking. It's also very effective for squeezing or grappling. The reason this point is very effective is the further up the arm that we travel, as opposed to the wrist, where this one's near the elbow, the more it's going to control the opponent's legs and his posture. All right, for example, let's say he's grabbing. When I squeeze this point, his entire body is affected, as opposed to when we squeezed one of the other ones where he was affected, but just not quite in the same degree. This particular point, lung 5, is located on the thumb side of the arm, below the elbow joint, right in this spot. Easiest way to find it is what I call the clock method. We look at the circle and we make a clock. 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And it's right about 7 o'clock. And we squeeze deep inside. A good application for this is if somebody grabs you, you can do it either with your center finger or your thumb. That will be determined by the size of your hand. People with small hands, they're going to have a hard time doing it this way. It'll be easier here. You can also do it with the opposite hand. So we'll do with the thumb to show first. We're going to squeeze. Now when we squeeze the point, we're causing pain. So he feels it. You could see by the look on his face, but he didn't move. He didn't move because I didn't move him. Now he's moved. This is based on my control. If, let's say, I had multiple opponents and there was somebody in that direction, I would move him this way. So whenever you squeeze a pressure point, understand that you're putting pain into the point. But in order to control the opponent, you have to direct them in a manner that you see fit. This exact same point, if he was to choke me or grab me, I can use either one or I could use both to really control him. Now from here, a follow-up knee strike or a kick would be good, or I can easily throw him, bringing him to the ground. So whether I use one side or both sides will be determined by whether he's attacking me with one hand or two. If he attacks me with one hand and I'm doing something with 2 hands, he's going to punch me. But if he's got 2 hands on me, double grab. If he's got 2 hands on me, I can use 2 hands easily because I know he can't strike me with his hands. I only have to worry about his legs. And like we said before, once we squeeze the points, he cannot kick when his body drops like that, but I can. So it gives me 2 weapons to use and him none. So the point we covered was lung 5, again on the thumb side of the arm, right in this spot. The next points we're going to cover are large intestine 10 and 11. The reason we're covering them together is they're located about an inch apart, which means when you're reaching for one, sometimes you'll get the other one. It gives you a much bigger area to cover. Most pressure points are about the size of a quarter. If we put 2 of them together, that gives us a much larger surface area for us to reach for. For our opponents wearing clothing or our vision's obstructed, we can't see, it'll be easier to go for areas where there's more than one point because we're more likely to hit one. This point complements the point that we did previously, the lung 5 point. When he grabs, we use the lung 5 point to control his knees and bring him down. Depending on the position of his arm, if he were to turn his hand a little bit, I couldn't get to the lung 5 point. But on this mound of muscle right here, in the center is the large intestine point. And when we squeeze it, it's even more effective. If you can see, it brings him right down to his knees. This point, I use these 2 points for what I call directional self-defense. I bring this point, usually if I want to bring him across, and we'll use the lung 5 point if we want to bring him in the other direction. So again, when you're dealing with multiple opponents or different situations where you need to control, we want to be able to bring him this direction and bring him in that direction to shield ourselves from other attacks. So any type of grabbing attack, if he does a single grab, we can squeeze in. All right, if he does a double grab, we can squeeze in. If he was choking us, we can do the same thing, but maybe you can't get your thumbs up there, so you use the center finger and you squeeze in. What this also sets up very nicely is finger locks, because when you do squeeze these points, the hand shoots open. Finger locks are probably the most effective method of self-defense, but they're hard to get to because most people have their fists clenched, they're grabbing, they're punching. But when you learn these points, it forces the hand open and it gives you that opportunity to go for them. Even if he was to grab my wrist, once I did this, now I have the fingers, it's very easy to get him. All right, so the points are large intestine 10 and 11. Again, on the thumb side of the arm, but instead of on the inside of the arm, they're on the other side, right where this maunder muscle is, 2 points here. They're interchangeable, they both have the same effect. 1, 2, about an inch apart. So we squeeze in and down. One other thing, any pressure point where we're using our thumb or our finger, if we squeeze and we don't get the effect that we want, we make little circles. So if I'm squeezing and he's not quite feeling it so much, I make little circles and it becomes very painful. This is an analogy similar to water going down the drain. So the pressure points are located in a hole. You could be slightly off and be on the muscle. When you wiggle your thumb, it'll find its way into that hole. So any pressure point, whether it's on the arm, the neck, the leg, you squeeze it. If you don't get an immediate effect, rub the thumb a little bit, rub the finger, and it will guide you into that hole. So we have large intestine 10 and 11. Next point we're going to cover is called large intestine 12. This point has an almost identical application to large intestine 10 and 11, the previous technique. The reason we're covering it is it's activated slightly differently. And like I said, there's variety in that some techniques will work for some techniques will work for others. Large intestine 12, the easiest way to find it is when, let's switch places, when your partner grabs you, okay, your palm, the center of your palm cups his elbow, and the thumb automatically finds the spot. So if he was to make a muscle, it would be between his bicep and his forearm, right in that groove where there's no muscle. So no matter how tight his muscles are, there's a soft spot here. And when you squeeze it, it's very painful, okay? A lot of the points on the outside of the arm are very important because in a situation like this, there is no real problem with him grabbing me. I could stay here all day. This is not dangerous. What's dangerous is when he punches me with the other hand. So one way to stop that is to cross his arm in front of his body. If he went to punch with that hand, go ahead, and I crossed his arm, he could not punch me. One of the easier ways to do that is to use a point on the outside of the arm. So in this case, large intestine 12. When he goes to punch, I squeeze. Now I have his arm, I could simply bring him right back. All right, so let's come back up and show one more time. So when we do find the point, we cup it, we squeeze, and again, we have to control him. When I do this, he's feeling it. But it's when I control him across, that's what sets everything up. If we were to use a striking application after the squeeze, we could easily come in and strike the back of his calf if we wanted to bring him down and injure his knee that way. So once you get him into a good position, you have to decide what you're going to do next. Are you going to strike? Are you going to throw? Are you going to kick? Are you going to continue with pressure point shots? If I brought him to here, I could come under the nose and bring him down this way with a different pressure point, which we'll cover a little bit later. So the point that we did was large intestine 12. When he makes a muscle between the bicep and the forearm, you'll find a hollow pocket. Again, squeeze in and then down a little bit. You have a little trouble, rotate, make the circle, and you have a great effect. And like all the other points, it forces the hand open, it forces his knees to bend a little bit, and it makes the other arm move away from you. Large intestine 12. Next point we're going to cover is called heart 3. Heart 3 is in the exact same spot as large intestine 12, but on the opposite side of the arm. So this time, when we cup his elbow, our thumb is going to fit between the bicep and the tricep muscle here. Because of the muscular structure here, the point is pretty deep. So the thumb has to travel pretty far inside, and then like pressing a typewriter key, it needs to press down. So we're here, we squeeze in first. And he starts to feel it a little bit. You can see that look. But I can't really control him until I press down. And now I have complete control over him. Once we reach up to the elbow point, we can start combining them. Which means once he grabs, instead of just going for this point here, we can go back to the heart 5, lung 8 point, to the pericardium point. Okay, any of those points, once we get a good grip here where we could control them, now we come here and we have a lot more control. From here, a simple step backwards will bring them right to the ground. Okay, pressure points have compound effect, which means that one point will make the next point more effective. The good thing is not only does it double it, but usually it triples it. So when he grabs, 1 point, I can control him, or 1 point here, I could control him. If I get both points and squeeze, I can easily bring him down. Once he stands up though, he's not injured, just a little sore, no striking. Basically what I would do strategy-wise is if I wanted to hit him, I would lock 1 point, or 1 point, and strike. All right, I would use the first point to set up my hit or my lock. If I wasn't looking to hit him, I would use multiple points to control him. By using multiple points, I give him an extra amount of pain, make it less likely for him to resist it. I bring him to the ground quickly. So hot 3-point, again, when he makes the muscle, palm, the center of your palm on the tip of his elbow, grab with the fingers on the other side, thumb goes in. Once it's in, we press downward, or if we have trouble, we wiggle a little bit, and it brings him down. Again, always watch for the knee bend, the head drop, and the other hand to start moving away a little bit. So when he grabs, as we hear, all that tends to happen at once. It's important that you know where your opponent's going to go for your follow-up shot. My follow-up shot was up here, that wouldn't work. I'd have to use something that struck him down here, or twisted him down here, so on and so forth. So when you do strike a pressure point, you're going to get a reaction, and it's a predictable reaction. How big of a reaction depends on how hard you squeeze and how sensitive he is to that point. But the reaction will always be the same. The knees will drop, the body will turn, the head will come forward, setting up other points for you to strike or grab at. So again, hot 3 on the inside between the bicep and the tricep. Next point we're going to cover is, in my opinion, one of the most important points on the human body. Point's called triple warmer 17. Triple warmer 17 lies behind the jawbone and below the ear. If we use Dusan to demonstrate, we find the tip of the earlobe and the back of the jawbone. You'll find there's a hole there. If you press straight into the hole, it does hurt. But if you press in a direction towards his nose, it hurts a lot more. It's much more effective, like 10 times. Most people see a hole and they look to press into it and they think that's the point. And again, it is effective, but the real angle is bringing back towards yourself. The reason this point is so effective is this point can be used to release any hold, whether standing or on the ground, as long as you can have one hand to access it. If he was to grab me somewhere and I didn't want to use the arm points and I couldn't get out, I can just press in there to make him let go. If he was to throw a punch and I wanted to bring him to the ground and I wanted to keep him there, I would use my thumb in that point to control him and induce a lot of pain. Another application, if let's say I had him in the guard position and we were grappling and I couldn't get a hold, I can press in there to cause a lot of pain and to disrupt his body. One of the key things in grappling is to take his balance. If I try to sweep him, it's hard, but if I put my finger in that position, I could easily bring him over and come into a dominant position. Okay? So when we use triple warmer 3, always remember, press back towards the person's nose, not in. Another application of this point is a controlling move that if he was punching straight, I can use my thumb, actually we'll turn you this way, behind the point, and my other finger just to grab his nose as a handle and squeeze. And I have complete control over him. All right, so one more time. If he was to throw his punch, we'd move out. The thumb, like a claw, would shoot in. This grabs the nose, but the pressure is with the thumb. And once I squeeze, he's in pain. What do I do to bring him down? Direct him there. I use the thumb. Hold him in that position immediately. So again, triple warmer 17, behind the earlobe, below the earlobe, behind the jawbone, pressing back to front. Point we're going to cover now is called small intestine 17. Small intestine 17 lies on the neck. Where it lies is pretty much below the last one, the triple warmer 17, but instead of being against the jaw, it's under the jaw, where the muscle of the neck is, right in between here. And when you press it, it's very painful. This point also lies right over the arteries that go to your neck. So if we squeeze both sides, it makes an excellent choke. First application that we use is if our partner should grab us, really pretty much anywhere, we can just take our fingertips and poke into there to make him let go. Okay? If he was throwing a punch, it would be a similar thing. We would block. We could use our thumb or our fingertips and just control him in this manner. In order to choke him, what we need to do is close off both arteries at the same time. If you just do one side, it might work, but it would take a long time. This is the one exception where we don't use the tip of the fingers, where we actually use the pads. It's much more effective. And the way this choke works is we use the web of the hand and we bring it into the throat. We don't strike him, we just place it here. And using this finger and this finger, we squeeze. We squeeze together and we push forward at the same time. Now, if you were doing this, he has two free hands, he's going to hit you, he's not going to let you do it. So we need to set up a technique that protects us at the same time as we're choking him. So the way we're going to do that is when he throws his punch, we're going to duck underneath it. And using the hand coming up, we're going to use the squeeze. Our head is protected here, he can't hit us with that hand, and we start to squeeze until he can't take it anymore and he goes down. Once we bring him to the ground, we can continue choking him. We can continue from this position, or if you wanted to make sure that you had a more solid hold, we would shift to the mount position. With our chest, we would put pressure on his arm and continue choking from here till he tapped or till he passed out. Once you're in this position, I'm going to move this hand so that I'm not choking him. From here, he can't strike me with either hand. Go ahead. Very little effect, and this hand is useless. Also, by putting pressure on this hand, it helps put pressure on my hand, giving me more downward strength. So, once we have the point, we shoot under the arm. Okay, I'm going to turn the other way so we can see that angle. He throws the punch, shoot under, push up first, and squeeze. And as he starts to feel it, we direct him backwards. Something to be careful of is watch where his head goes. His head is leading towards the ground. If I push, his head will hit the ground. So in practice, or if you didn't want to hurt the individual as he dropped, control his arm as you drop him. From here, you could either shift back to that chokehold, or back to the triple warmer 17, or we can go for an arm bar, or pretty much anything that you wanted to do. So if you're leading him head first, be careful that his head doesn't hit the floor, unless that's your intention. Next point we're going to cover is small intestine 18. Small intestine 18 lies under the cheekbones. It has a similar effect to small intestine 17, except rather than choking the individual, it just brings the head backwards, allowing for an easy takedown. What we do is we find where his cheekbones are, and you'll see there's a hollow pocket. Obviously, that's his cheek. If you press in, you're going to hit his teeth, and it's not really going to hurt very much. So what we do is we go in a little bit, and then we push up against the bone, which immediately snaps his head backwards. If he was to grab in any manner, we could reach in and just extend, bring him down. If you notice, I let go of him before he fell. If I maintained pressure and walked forward, his head would be the first thing hitting the floor. That's not something that you want to do in practice, and it's not something you want to do unless you're looking to cause serious injury. So at the last second, once their balance is lost, release the hold, allowing them to fall properly. Same technique can be used against a punching type of attack. As he punches, we block. Right? We'll do that slow one more time. 1, 2. From here, I shoot these fingers immediately into the cheekbones. To prevent him from walking away from me, I place my hand on his back and I bring him down, letting him down slowly. Once he's down, again, we can pin him, lock him, press either in the triple warmer 17 or in the small intestine 17 to hold him down into position. Okay? So small intestine 18 under the cheekbones, we can press them both at the same time, or if for some reason he grabbed and I couldn't reach one side, I can just press one side to control his head to set up an attack, some type of a strike. If I was looking to attack his throat, throat is a vital area, but it's naturally protected. The chin goes down. Once I lift up, I have an open shot at his throat if it was a life-threatening situation. So small intestine 18 under the cheekbones. Next point we're covering is called conception vessel 22. It lies in the hole in the pit of the neck. This is the single most important point on the body, even more than triple warmer 17 because it's always accessible when your opponent's facing you. This can be used to choke the opponent, throw the opponent, make the opponent release you, or set up a strike. So we're going to show an example of those. First, we'll just go over that location one more time. We have his chest, we have his throat. There's a little hole between the two muscles, in and down. And when you go in and down, he goes in and down, which is what you're looking for. So now, if he was to grab me anywhere, my wrist, my arm, my thumb can go into the spot, and all I would do is squeeze. And the reaction, I squeeze a little more, and I can release. If I was looking to set up a strike, I would squeeze, and set up a strike with this hand. This point's also known as the cough point for reasons that you can see. If you press it too hard or too fast, it makes him cough. Now, once we have control over him, throwing him is easy. Once his knees bend, I need to just direct him where I want him to go. So I grab him and bring him around. We're going to show that throw one more time. We're going to use this conception vessel 22. If he grabs us, he can grab any way he wants. He could be choking me, and it still works. For the sake of the camera so you can see what's going on, I'm going to have him grab low. We're going to put our thumb in. We're going to squeeze in and down, not up. Once his grip loosens, I'm just going to grab his arm. I'm loosening the hold. From here, I'm going to direct the arm where I want him to go. Now, normally, he'd be very strong and he would resist. What prevents that is that I'm using my thumb to push him also. So from this position, I take a step back. I bring him over. Now, we're going to turn him a little sideways. If he lands on his side, we use our thumb and we press behind the jaw like we've been doing. If he should land flat on his back, we come around and we just push into the hole till he taps. So the same thing that we use to throw him in that hole, we use our fingers to control him. Okay? This is an excellent point because it can be used to release holds, it can be used to help throw him, and it can be used to pin him while he's on the ground. So CV22, right in the hole. Next point we're going to be using is stomach 9. Stomach 9 is most famous for being a knockout point. It is the easiest point to knock somebody out with a strike, but it's also very easy to control or throw an opponent. Stomach 9 lies where the Adam's apple is, just look straight, between the Adam's apple and the sternocleidomastoid muscle, right in the space. So all we need to do is put our thumb in that hole, squeeze in and down, and we have complete control over him. If he goes to punch me, I just squeeze a little harder. All right, so any situation where you're in close, whether he's grabbed you, whatever he's done, it doesn't matter. We put the thumb in, okay? We can use both sides, one side, we squeeze, and we control him. I'm loosening up a little bit. From here, we can strike him, we can throw him to the ground. There's lots of stuff that we can do. One thing that I like to do is from this angle, when he grabs, is to use that middle knuckle again and place it right on the spot. All we do now is grab his sleeve and throw him over with it. Now, the reason that works so well is one hand is giving pain and taking away resistance. The other hand is directing him to the ground where we want him to go. Let's move down a little bit. Let's try that one more time. He grabs. We place the middle knuckle right in the spot, right next to the Adam's apple, about 1/3 of the way up the neck. Grab the sleeve or the wrist, or if you want to grab some of the other points that we've done on the arm, that's fine. Take a step back, push in slowly, and direct him to the ground. Okay? This point can also be used from reverse, meaning, let's say he threw a punch. It would be a little awkward to get my thumb in here, but I could reach around and put my middle finger and then squeeze to bring him down this way. All right, so let's do that one more time. All right, his punch comes in, we move to the outside, we reach around with our center finger, we hook it, and we go in and down, bringing him to the mat. So stomach 9 point, next to the Adam's apple, in the space between the muscle and the cartilage, in and down. The next points we're going to cover are stomachs 11 and 12. These are 2 points that lie very close to each other, so we'll use them as if they were 1 point. The reason is there's a lot of people have trouble making this point work because they're focusing just on one. The points, I'll show you the 2 points first. The first one lies where the collarbone is in the big hole. The second one lies about 1 inch next to it, closer to the center of the body. If you were trying to go for one, you can easily miss. So what I like to do is make a claw and use all the fingers, which pretty much guarantees that I'm going to hit at least one, if not both of them. So instead of trying to use one finger and find the spot, all the fingers shoot in. So if he was to grab, we usually attack the side of the arm that is raised. If you feel on yourself, let go for 1 sec. If his arm is down, there's a hole there, but when he raises his arm, the hole gets deeper. Okay, so whichever arm is up, that's the side we grab. All of the fingers will go in and press down. Now I could bring him straight to the ground, or if this was part of a more advanced technique, we could bring him down and strike him, or we could bring him down and set him up for some type of a locking technique. Either way, all the fingertips go in. Against a punching attack, we would have to block the punch, shoot in and down. If he threw a punch in more of a circular manner, a hooking punch, we would block and immediately shoot the hands off to bring him down and press. So again, if you go after it with one finger, if you get it, it'll work great, but there's a good chance of missing, especially if he has clothing and you can't see it. All the fingers, all 4 of them, sometimes you'll even get the CV22 point with it, which is just a bonus. Any one of those points will bring him to the ground. If you're lucky, you'll get more than one. It will be more effective. This also combines well with other points, meaning if he should grab, we could use the large intestine 4 point to make him release, then we can press down to help throw him, okay? Or if he's choking, we could use the heart 3 point, right? Show it on this side. The one that was under here, he chokes. We can make him let go and then press and bring him down. As a general rule, we usually start with the arm points because they're the closest thing to us, and then we work our way up to the neck. The exception to that is if he's punching. If he throws a punch, there's no way I'm going to grab points on his arm. So what I usually do is deflect and go right in for the neck point immediately. All right, so stomach 11 and 12 inside the collarbone. Next point we're covering is called large intestine 20. Large intestine 20 lies next to the corner of the nose on both sides. So basically we find where the tip of the nose is, right in the corner, and we press. This one's usually activated with thumb pressure. Let's say, for example, we were in a grappling situation. No. Okay, from here I would shoot the thumb right into the corner. The hand would go behind the head, and I would squeeze, which would easily set up a throw or a takedown. So we were here. If I was trying to throw him, he's not letting me. I slide the thumb in and I squeeze. Once I get his body reaction, I bring him over. Once he's on the ground, I could even use my center finger to control him onto the same point. All right, so let's do that one more time. I'll show you from this side. We're in a grappling situation. We're looking for a throw. I slide the hand into the point and I squeeze. Once I have him, I control his head and I bring him down and around. Once he's on the ground, now I have to keep him there. I can either use the same exact point, or I could go behind the jaw, or I could go into the center of the neck. I have lots of options now. If we were in very close, let's say he grabbed, or even front bear hug, I can press both of them to make him release. Now that I have his neck, I can easily throw him with a neck throw. All right, so let's watch that one more time. I'll turn a little bit more. He's in close. Maybe I don't want to hit him for some reason. Thumbs go into the spot. Fingers go behind the head. I squeeze and I tilt his head back. And then just twist his chin to bring him over. So fingers behind the back, thumbs in, tilt his head. Once he's off balance, we can twist and effect the throw. So large intestine 20 in the corner of the nose. The next point we're going to cover is called the mental nerve. It's called the mental nerve because if you look at a picture of a skull, there are 2 holes by the jawbone. It's called the mental foramen, and a nerve passes through there underneath the skin. It doesn't have an acupuncture name, but it's still effective nonetheless. The purpose of this point, the way we use it, if we strike it, of course, it can be a knockout, but we use it to control the neck and twist the neck. Meaning, when I press down, his head turns. When his head turns, the rest of his body goes along with it. The way to find this point is we find the corner of the mouth and where the mustache comes down. And right when we get to the jaw, right on these points, we squeeze. That's where the point is. Usually we won't attack it with 2 hands. Usually we'll just come from one side with our thumb and we press down to make his head turn. One technique that I like uses this point twice. What we do is we press down on the point to turn his head. We bring him to the ground. Another way to do it is to bring him into our chest and squeeze him. Let's say he doesn't fall. We bring him around, and using this bone, we squeeze down onto the point. If we want to make it more effective, 2 hands. So basically what we're doing is pressing into here, rolling his head, letting our thumb knuckle come onto the point, and squeezing till he taps. So we're using this point twice. If we want to just take him to the ground, we just continue the head turn and bring him over. Okay, we could pin him, or we could set up an arm lock, or other techniques from there. In certain cases, we can use both sides and just squeeze it to push him back away from us. Also keep in mind that when striking this point, I've been using the thumb a lot, we can always convert to the knuckle. If he should grab, if we want to use the knuckle to press down, we get a little bit of a faster effect because the knuckle's pointier, sharper, creates a better response. The disadvantage is we lose a little bit of control. With the thumb, I have control. With the knuckle, it's more of a push. So I'm going to do it on this side also. We press down, and we control him right away. If I follow through, we bring him to the ground. So any of the points that we're squeezing, we can squeeze with the thumb, the middle finger, or press with the knuckle. That even goes for the arm points. If I want, I can just press the knuckle in to make him let go, as opposed to striking or using the thumb. But remember, with the thumb, usually we're using the entire hand, and it gives us a little bit of control for what to do with our opponent next. All right, so the point is the mental nerve, right in the corner of the jaw where the mustache comes down. You'll feel a little hole there. That's what we're aiming for. Next point we're going to cover is going to be on the lower leg, the calf muscle. It's called bladder 56. The best way to locate it is have your partner turn, okay, and have him flex his calf muscle. Go up on your toes. Between the two muscles, the diamond shape, you're going to find a little hole. In that hole is the exact spot that we're looking for. So the gastrocnemius muscle has 2 heads to it, and it makes a heart shape. Right at the point of the heart. Just turn a little bit more. Okay, go up on the toes, put some weight on that leg. Right in this curve, in dead center, is where we're aiming for. We come in, we squeeze, we get an effect. Now, when your partner's standing and you squeeze, I have pretty strong hands, so he's feeling it, but this is not the best way to do it. The reason is because all of his weight is here. His muscles are contracted. It's a little hard to get in. The application that we're going to use is going to be from the mount, meaning he's sitting on me with his knees around me. From this position, his weight is on his knees. His calf muscle is like jelly. It's relaxed. That's the best time to attack it. He's choking. He's doing whatever he's doing. We reach down. We feel for the muscle. You'll actually feel the curve. Get into the center. Squeeze. You get that look on his face, that means that you found it, but he's still on you. What did you do wrong? You didn't direct him. How do we direct him? We can bridge, as taught in grappling, or we can just grab the sleeve, or let's say the lung 5 point that we did earlier to help direct him where we want him to go. All right, so let's come back and show that one more time. All right. As he's here, we reach down, we find his leg, we feel for the muscle. You'll feel the bump. Go to the center, squeeze. To get him off, bridge, and roll him off. All right? Don't forget, when we attack the pressure points, especially with squeezing, we're causing pain, we're causing a body reaction. But to get him to move, you have to direct him. Again, if we squeeze, he has pain, but he doesn't move because I didn't put him where I want him to go. So both techniques have to be used together. Be on the point, cause a reaction, and then push him in the direction that you want him to go. All right, so bladder 56 on the back of the calf. Next points we're going to cover, again, are interchangeable points. It's spleen 11 and liver 9. Both points are located on the inner thigh, and we're going to use both of them to escape from the guard position. Normally, these points are used for striking, meaning if he has one leg in the front, whatever's going on, we would hit into these points. Right now, we're focused on squeezing and pressing, so the application here would be when he has us in the guard, we're going to press with our elbow to force the legs open to help us in passing. Best way to find these points is to put this leg forward, have your partner bend his knee. Right above the knee, we go next to the knee, one hand. Where the finger lays on the inside of the thigh, there's a hole. In that hole is the liver 9 point. Directly above it is the spleen 11 point. So you place your hand on the knee. Where the finger ends on the inside of the thigh, you'll feel for it, there's a hole, a gap. You press in, that's the liver 9. If you go up a little higher, it's the spleen 11. The reason we need both is we're not sure which one's going to be accessible when the legs are around our waist. Whichever one we can get to is the one that we're going to go for. So he's going to lay down, he's going to put me in the guard position. Okay? Normally in this position, my job is to escape, to pass the guard. Go to cross side, get out. One of the obstacles is if he has very strong legs and I'm trying to break his guard open, it just won't open. So what we're going to do is use our elbow. All right? His legs are a lot bigger. You might be able to use your fingers, but it's a lot easier to use the elbow. We're going to feel for either the liver 9 point or the spleen 11. I prefer the spleen 11, but either works. We'll do the liver 9 first. I put the elbow in, and I press, and the legs open. Now, of course, we're grappling. He's going to close his legs. He's going to do something else. I need to know how to pass, so I'll go over. I'll go to the side. All right? We're not doing grappling today. We're just showing this one application, though. So from here, elbow inside, where it's supposed to be anyway, press to release. If you wanted to cause pain more than that, we would lift the leg and press. Now, there's nowhere for him to go, because the leg, even if it opens, I have it braced on this side. The exact same technique using the spleen 11 would be, let's say we had a really tight guard, and I couldn't get the elbow back. I'd fit it a little bit lower, and I would press. What you want to do is press it to the ground, all right, all the way down. As long as I keep pressure, he's in pain. Pass it to my hand and bring the knee across. And then from here, I can go to my guard passing and to the cross side. So one more time. All right, I have my elbows in for protection. He tries to sit up. He can't. Okay, I have good posture. Elbow in, press to the ground. Palm, hold it down, bring the knee across. And now I'm halfway towards getting out of the guard. I've accomplished my goal, which was to break the guard open. All right, so come back up. So when we go for these points, inside the knee, inside the upper thigh. With the elbow, press. If person's very strong, press with 2 hands. Real fight situation, if you wanted, you can strike it, but this actually works better pressing in the position that you're in, because you don't have a lot of room to wind up. So just leaning forward with your weight on the point of the elbow into the liver 9 or the spleen 11 points. The next 2 points we're going to use in combination. The 2 points are gallbladder 25 and governing vessel 26. Gallbladder 25 is the only point that we're using on the body as far as pressing and squeezing. Most of the body points require striking. This particular point has the application of escaping from a headlock. Okay, I'll come back for a second. If he has me down, all right, what I'm looking for is where his elbow is, in his back, right below the ribs. If we press, it's going to bring him back up. When he's holding me in a headlock, he's going to be down. When I press him, he's going to come up. The second point that we're going to go for is right here under the nose. We're just going to press with our center finger and continue bringing him to the ground. So this point will straighten his body, and then this one will make his head go backwards, allowing me to throw him. All right, so we're going to do it from a couple of directions. We'll do it from this way first so they can see the first point. As he's squeezing, I find my palm, I press. He comes up. Okay, so watch that one more time. I find the palm, press with the thumb. The next portion of it, once we get him into this position, okay, is to reach over and drop him to the ground. So it's a 2-part technique. All right, so watch one more time. The second half, he's squeezing nice and tight. I press in. Now, if I keep pressing from here, I won't make him fall. It'll just give him pain. I need to make him release, so I shift up into this position. The center finger goes under the nose. On the chin, if he's got a strong neck muscle, push down. It's not going to work. Under the nose, I press down, and I make him release. All right, so we're going to do the whole technique now from different directions. As he's here, press and drop. And now we'll do it from the other side to show you the press one more time. Ready? Press and drop. All right, so we have the gallbladder 25, the governing vessel 26. Again, the easiest way to find the back one is where the elbow touches the body, right behind it. And this one is very easy. It's just under the tip of the nose. To make pressure points more effective, we want to use them in combination with each other. One will generally set up the other one or open up the possibility for another pressure point attack. What we're going to use are points that we've covered already. We're going to use the heart 3 point, which is inside the elbow, between the bicep and the tricep. So that's going to be our first point. We start with the arms. We work our way up to the neck to the stomach 9 point, right next to the Adam's apple. And then when he's down on the ground, we're going to control him with the triple warmer 17 point behind the jaw. So we're going to flow from one point to the next. So when he grabs, first move, we're going to squeeze and pull him close to us. Now that he's close, I can access his neck. I'm going to reach for the stomach 9 point, I'm going to press down, and I'm going to turn, which will drop him. From here, I'm going to take that same hand and press behind the jaw, all while maintaining control of that heart 3 point, which will make the other two more sensitive. From here, I can just give him a lot of pain. I can strike him. I could shift to an arm lock. I have millions of opportunities. All right, so let's go through that one more time slow. He grabs, all right, palm on the elbow, squeeze. Now, we have pain. We want to control him. I need him close, so I pull him. Middle finger reaches around the back. I find the spot, and I squeeze. I want to take him down, though, so I step backwards. Okay, I press behind the triple warmer 17, all the time maintaining control of this arm. As long as I have control of this arm, I can easily shift to an arm lock or any other technique that I choose. All right, so let's watch one more time, a little bit faster. All right, so he grabs, squeeze, down, press. Okay, we'll do it again from the other side. All right, he grabs, squeeze, down, and press. And that's our combination. All right, the points that we're going to combine now are going to be the wrist points, all right? The heart 5 point and the lung 8 point. We're going to combine that with the points on the cheekbone, which is the small intestine 18 point, and we're going to pin him to the ground with the CV 22 point under the neck. Being that we're working with pressure points, we're using pressure points for everything. As a complete martial artist, we want to be able to combine everything: punching, kicking, throwing, pressure points. So in your system, as you're training, if you bring him down with a pressure point, you don't have to pin him with a pressure point. You can go to an arm lock or you can kick him. Keep in mind that you can blend it. We're just showing some applications to give you an example of how the different moves work together. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to do them this way. All right? The first move, we want to control him on the heart 5, lung 8 point. We want to bring him a little bit closer, so we bring him down. If I do it right, he'll come like this. If I only get him to come a little bit, that's okay also. All right, so I bring him down. I find the cheekbones. I put the thumb and the middle finger in with the points. I push up. I bring him down, drop to the knees, and I press into the CV22 point in the neck. So just turn sideways a little bit. Let's just, no, the other way. Let's just show that point. As I get him to here, like a spear, I push and I apply pressure till he taps. Now, could I have used the same point we used last time to pin him behind the jaw? Yes. For variety, we're just showing you different examples of things that you can do. So let's do it one more time. All right. Same thing with the attacks. If he grabbed me with 2 hands, I can still do the same move. It doesn't have to be off one hand. We're just doing this so you can see the techniques a little more clearly. We grab the points, we turn the wrist, we bring him down. Fingers go underneath, I take his balance, step back, bring him down, drop to the knees, and press in. All right? We're going to do it 2 times fast from both directions. He grabs, bring him in, down, and pin. Okay? And one more time from this angle. He grabs, control him, bring him down, and pin. Okay? So we have heart 5 and lung 8, squeezing, small intestine 18 under the cheekbones, and CV22 to pin him. The next 2 techniques we're going to put together are the large intestine 4 point, which was inside between the thumb and the forefinger, and the triple warmer 11 point, which was 1 inch behind the point of the elbow being rubbed. Now this can be done in a variety of ways. Any way he grabs me, I can access that point with my thumb and roll him. Once I have him in this position, I bring him to the ground onto this point. To make it more painful for him, I keep rubbing it. As long as I keep rubbing it, he's in pain. If I wanted to just pin him and not have to rub him, I would put my foot under and step over. And now if he gives me a hard time, I just move my toes and I have him locked. Okay, so let's watch that one more time. All right, so we'll turn this way a little bit. He grabs, I reach over, and with my thumb, I press into the large intestine 4 point. I squeeze. That opens his grip. I turn him and I set him. Once I set him, I go an inch above the elbow with the foreknuckles and I rub. Again, if I rub and do this, that's what happens. If I bring him to the ground, that's what happens. Once he's here, I continue to rub to put him in pain. Or I slide the foot under the wrist and step on the tricep. And now by lifting my toes, I lock his elbow. I lift my toes and I press down with my other foot and I cause his arm to do this, locking his elbow out. An alternative would be from this position to just reach over to the triple warmer point and press. Okay, making him tap. It would depend on his head position. If he was facing the other way, turn your head, then I would come in with my thumb on this side. If he was facing back that way, I'd put my center finger in on this side. So I could either continue rubbing or press into this position. All right, another way to get to this would be the way we showed it originally. Let's back up a little bit. Is to press with the thumb here, turn him around, and now we're back where we were before. Rub and down. Okay? Anytime I can get my thumb into that position, all right, turn this way. Let's say he was choking. I can reach through, or reach over actually, and squeeze. And I'm back to here. He was grabbing the wrist before, we were here. He was grabbing with one hand, we were here. So anytime we look to twist his wrist, that large intestine 4 point becomes very important. Anytime we get him to this position, the triple warmer point is very important because when his arm is straight, it's very susceptible to being locked. All right, so the 2 points we used again, the large intestine point over here, and the triple warmer 11 point, 1 inch above the point of the elbow. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep in mind that what we've done today is a small piece of the puzzle. The puzzle is learning to defend yourself. Learning to defend yourself involves learning to use everything: punching, kicking, throwing, joint locking, and pressure point work. In situations where non-lethal force is necessary, squeeze points are excellent to use the fingertip power points that we practiced today. You won't injure the person, but you will be able to control them. Something else I want everybody to remember is that it's better to train under qualified instruction. While you can learn techniques from a video, it's better to be supervised because they can be dangerous if done incorrectly. Correctly performed, they're non-lethal and non-dangerous, but very effective. Incorrectly, accidentally, injuries can happen. Anybody interested in future training, my contact info will be at the end of this program, and you can email me and I will help you find a qualified Kyusho instructor in your area, or if you're in my area, you're welcome to come and see me. Thank you.